Howdy, everyone. Frankie here, New West Reset. Hello. How's it going? Welcome back. Thank you very much for shooting in, joining a fella here for another one. Another live one, as a matter of fact. New West Reset Live, episode 173 here today. Sunday, May the 31st, 2026. Just a freckle past 5 p.m. local time. That's mountain time, don't you know? Because as always, we're coming at you live from the foothills of the Canadian Rocky Mountains. Right here in southern Alberta, Purdy, Alberta, Calgary, Alberta, up in Canada land there, eh? Thank you very much for joining me today. As mentioned, episode 173, we're going to be looking at the very first electric streetcar from the Berlin Trade Expo, exhibition actually, of 1879. Yeah, the very first, the world's first passenger electric streetcar trolley, tram. It was 147 years ago today that the world's first electric streetcar tram system was presented to the public. It was unveiled at the Berlin Trade Exhibition in 1879. Boy, howdy. Can you imagine that? Well, we're going to get into that. So thank you for being here. Thanks for winding down your weekend with yours truly on the Sunday Fun Day Show. It's great to have you. Woo! So, as always, links below in the description box for everything we're going to cover on this show, as well as all of my social media contacts, how you can get a hold of a guy, email, BitChute, and of course, HooTubes and Rumble, broadcasting simultaneously live on both. So welcome. A guy's on Instagram now, so if you're doing that whole thing, follow me over there on the Instagram. I try to put something up every day, whether it's a photo or a reel, being a smartass to somebody else's post. Yeah, something. Down there as well, you can find the link for my new channel, my second channel, New West Rewind. Every Saturday, I upload old-timey vintage footage videos up there, usually set to music, as well as my New West relocation map. You click on that and it opens up the goggle machine. And there's a map of everywhere I've done boots on the ground low these last 5 years here in Alberta. And as well, if you care to make a donation to the channel, it's greatly appreciated, but certainly not expected and not necessary. Link below for PayPal as well. If you make a donation and you send me your what size you wear and your mailing address, I will send you a New West Reset t-shirt or maybe a hat, maybe a Schmutz trucker hat. Anyway, enough jibber jabbering. Thanks for being here. We're going to get into it right quick, but before we do that, let's say howdy to everybody in the chat, in the box. I hope you're all doing well. Thanks for being here for the Sunday live show. It's my favorite day of the week, so I get to kind of chill and hang out with everybody. Brett is here, just Brett53. Good to see you, bud. Welcome. There's Cousin Vinny, the unfree Mason, Cousin Vinny in the box. Always good to see Cousin Vinny. We do a lot, speaking of boots on the ground and the New West Reset location map there. Cousin Vinny often accompanying me on boots on the ground. So basically, when you have the New West Reset, you see. You get Frankie Fingers, and you get old Cousin Vinny over here, huh? So, Tommy, where have you been, huh? I've been watching New West Reset, huh? Oh, it's New West Reset. It's this thing on YouTube. He goes around, he does his boots on the ground thing. He'll tell you. Good to see you there, bud, as always. Speaking of a friend of the channel, there's Wiley Metz, my neighbor just down in Montana land there. Howdy, howdy. There's our good friend Kathy Broughton in the box from the bluegrass state of Kentucky. Channel 53 is here as well. Hello, hello. Good to see you. Thanks, everybody, for being here. Appreciate it. Baja in the box. How many horsepower? Oh, we'll get into that, bud. We will get into that for sure there, eh? We will for sure get into all the shenanigans, as you shall soon see. You guys are the best, by the way. The best bunch a fella could ask for. You guys are friendly, smart, and have a good sense of humor. And that's why this is my favorite day of the week, spending it with all of you. Like Ross from Water the Tree. Good to see you, bud. Go over and check out Ross's channel, please. KJ's here. Kinley Jackson. Hello, hello there, bud. Odin's Raven is here. There's Eric, Old World, Michigan. Howdy, howdy, howdy. Hippie Shake. There she is, the best in the biz. I hope you're doing well, Hippie. You need undies. I can't help you there. I do not, as of yet, have any New West Reset underwear. Not, you notice I said yet, though, because of course now you've planted the seed for what I think is a terrible, terrible idea. Oh, that's too much.
We are laughing.
There won't be New West Reset underwear, though. There'll be Frankie Fingers undies, eh? Because, of course, you can... No, I'm stopping it right there. That's it. That's enough. That is enough. Howdy, Noah. Hello, hello, hello. Okay. Time to quit messing around now. Oh, yes, thank you. New West Rewind. That's right. It's my second channel. For all the vintage footage, now every Saturday. Business as usual here at New West Reset. Every Friday, boots on the ground. Every Sunday, the live show. And again, it's certainly my pleasure. And I always look forward to the Sunday live show with all of you. So thanks for being here. Again, links below for everything. And episode 173, the first electric streetcar from the Berlin Trade Exhibition way back in 1879. So we're going to look at the official, his story here, the official narrative, of course. And we'll take a quick mid-show break. And when we come back, found some great old photos of this crazy contraption, as well as some lovely photos of the exhibition itself. A couple, anyways, because they were, believe it or not, kind of hard to come by. But I did find some excellent photos of Berlin from the 1890s. So roughly a decade after this tech is first rolled out to everyone and presented. Willkommen, das ist wunderbar, ja? Das ist ein Choo-Choo. No, not a choo-choo, sorry. Das ist ein clickety-clack. Dr. Backwards in the box with an excellent question. Yeah, that's because that narrative is completely asinine, to say the least. I mean, I don't doubt that a bunch of jackasses, you know, basically 150-ish years ago or more, hooked horses up to streetcar trolleys or trams. But it's funny how they look exactly like, you know, what would a few years later be electric powered. They just decided, oh, now we don't need the horse anymore. But we preemptively anticipated this technology going electric. So in the meantime, we'll pull them around by horses. And yeah, if they're going downhill, the guy's got to activate a brake, and then he's got to pull the reins at the same time. Whoa there, Nelly. Slow down there, nutmeg. You know, Who we got driving these things? Yosemite Sam? Whoa, when I say whoa. Stupid mule. Yeah, mule. Yeah. Trying to get up the hill. It's just crazy. Anyway, let's have a look what the Wikipedia says. I generally go with the Wikipedia for the official narrative on this stuff, because anything else you really look up online regarding a certain or a specific topic, or whatever the case may be, generally a lot of them are cut and copy and paste from the Wikipedia article anyways, or vice versa. Wikipedia is assembled from a bunch of copy and pasted other articles online. And generally, when you look up something like the Siemens locomotive of 1879 in the search engine, one of your top 2 or 3 results is going to be the Wikipedia. So that's what the normies go with. So that's, they're being spoon-fed this official his story. Right? Right, Neetap? Old World Mi'kmaq in the box. Kwe, Neetap. Good to see you. Welcome. So the Siemens locomotive of 1879, let's see what Wacky says here. It was the first electric passenger train and the first electric locomotive powered by a generator, or what they called a dynamo back then. Dynamo. I much prefer the term dynamo. Sounds fantastic, doesn't it? What do you got there, Frankie? Oh, it's what, in the garage out back? What's a dynamo? You mean a generator? Nope, dynamo. Anyways, it was first presented at the Berlin Trade Exhibition, 1879, by Werner von Siemens, and transported exhibition visitors on an oval track. I think many of us have heard this before, been around in this kind of line of research in our community here for, 5-10 years or so. This is probably not the first you're hearing of this. It's not the first that I've heard of it either. It's just that today happens to be the 147th anniversary of the unveiling of this thing. I was like, wait, what? Really? 147 years already, to the day. So, Werner von Siemens, ennobled, he became a nobleman, I guess, in 1888, developed an electric generator based on the dynamo electric principle, which he patented in 1866. So first he patents this dynamo electric principle, which there's no page for, but it's basically using a circular device with magnets and copper and all that to generate an electric current. So first he patents that, and then from that he develops a generator 22 years later. On January 17, 1867, he gave a lecture before the Berlin Academy of Sciences, in which he provided the first scientific description of the dynamo electric principle. Based on these foundations, electric motors were built, initially used in stationary applications. They would power big flywheels that would operate a big belt. We've all seen that. I love finding vintage footage videos and putting that up. This machine shop or factory with, let's say, half a dozen machines, and each machine may perform a similar function or a completely different task. But they've got a wheel on them that's attached to a belt, usually a leather belt, but later some kind of rubberized compound that goes up to an axle that has a bunch of wheels on it. And that axle is powered by a generator or a dynamo. So, one engine of even 4 or 5 horsepower could operate half a dozen, 10 machines even. You just engage the machine by pulling a lever, which slips the belt onto the wheel, and then all of a sudden it engages your machine. When you want to disengage it, you pull the lever the other way, or push it, I should say, and it disengages the belt. Everything else is still working, so people can start and stop their machines independently, no matter how much the flywheel is operating. It's very simple. prior to electric, these were probably water powered, so we're told. And I think officially that is the story. Speaking of Cousin Vinny and boots on the ground, there's been a couple of times we've taken a trip to Heritage Park here in Calgary, which is sort of a living museum amusement attraction made like a 1900 prairie town. And often they will, instead of tearing down old historic buildings here in southern Alberta, they'll disassemble them, move them to Heritage Park, reassemble them in this little set-up little town. And it sort of starts off giving you the history of Canada, or even just southern Alberta in general, where, you know, the trade, the fur trade in the 1860s and 70s, and then the Mounties come in, and then, you know, pioneers and settlers come in, and farmers and ranchers and cowboys, and rootin' tootin' Wild West. And eventually in the year 1900, you get a semi-industrialized little prairie town or small city. And in said city, they have a machine like this hooked up at the grain elevator to operate the grain elevator. So we watch that thing. They also have one set up in the blacksmith shop that's operated by the heat from his forge. And that, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Cousin Vinny, it operated 4 different separate machines in the blacksmith shop, in the smithy, if you will. He had an English wheel, and he had the pneumatic hammer, and he had, I think, a drill press, and I think some kind of saw, some kind of metal, like some kind of belt saw with a blade for metal, I believe. Roberto, buonasera. Good to see you. Ciao, ciao. So, yeah, that's a bummer about Claude Lemieux. Yeah, that was what, yesterday, that he deleted himself. Young man, too, you know, in terms of, you know, in the grand scheme of things, right? I believe he was in his 60s, right? Can't remember. I believe it was something like that. It was 3 or 4. Anyway, the video's up on the channel. There's a couple of them, actually, where we've made a couple of trips. When I think the blacksmith, we missed it. So I think it was the second visit the following summer. But yeah, it was really cool to see. The one for the grain elevator was it was petrol. I believe it was diesel. And I think he said it was 4 or 5 horsepower. But the one at the blacksmith was, again, powered by the heat of the forge. And that one, I can't remember how many horsepower it was. I believe it was also around 3 or 4. But anyway, it was very interesting. And I've gone off under the weeds on a major tangent. What else is new? Anywho's, let's get back to the thing here, shall we? So that's what they mean by, you know, stationary applications. It wasn't mounted to something on wheels and trying to propel something. It was just, you know, it powered, they bolted it to the floor of your factory and it powered some stuff. Siemens then tried to use the electric motor in vehicles and had his designer, Hemming Westlau, design an electric locomotive for the Seftenberger Stuttgrabe Marie 3. Stuttgrabe or Stuttgrabe? I don't know. You're Gruber. You're gonna have to. I'm not German. I'm Canadian. Nein, sprechen Sie Deutsch. So I'm not. I can barely speak English, for crying out loud. I speak Canadian. Anyway, so this Sefterberger is a town, and a Studgrube is, I think, like a station, like a railway station or a transportation hub or something like that, maybe. Anyways, it says However, the proposed design from July of 1878, which aimed to drive the locomotive with two rubber discs on an iron band in the center, and subsequent adjustments did not convince the mine owner. Also, it was a mine, Carl Westphal. So Studgrube is a mine, I guess. So he's looking at I guess he's just wandering around outside near some mines, and he says, "Hey, I got an idea. Maybe they can use my little electric clickety clack thing here to to help with mining. I don't know, help haul coal or iron ores out of the hills and mountains. I guess I don't know." So he doesn't actually invent the thing. He gets his designer to actually design the thing. So this guy's just taking credit for it, the Siemens guy. I mean, he may have come up with the idea. It's like today, right, with the tech giants. Like everybody's like, "Ooh, Elon Musk is such a genius." No, he just takes older ideas or ideas that other people have thought of, and then he thinks of a way to reinvent the wheel, and then he yells at hundreds, if not thousands, of people that work for him to get it done. Just like, what's his name that invented the iPhone, or what's his pokey that's in charge of Microsoft. Anyways, so he had an iron rubber band running between two tracks. There was wheels on the tracks, and two rubber wheels that this thing would power to turn. And these wheels would basically grip the center iron track, and then move this thing forward. So it was a 3-track system initially. So it goes on to say that he doubted this mine owner guy. He doubted the reliability, was concerned about the investment costs, and could not reach an agreement with Siemens. So no locomotive was built from these initial designs. So then Siemens had the design of his electric locomotive further revised. He had it done, but by whom? By this other poor sap again? Or somebody else? Doesn't say. Now the axles were driven via a gear transmission, and the iron band was used for power transmission. So now he's running electric current through the iron band running down the middle, and he's tapping into that electrical current to power this thing. He's really hung up on this third rail for some reason. It's got to have that third rail. You know what it is. Oh, look at that. There's our old friend George. George Prokopanko in the box in the chat. Good to see you, bud. Hello, hello. So based on a design from October 1878, a locomotive was built to be presented to the public at the Berlin Trade Exhibition in 1879. This exhibition took place on the ULAP site at the Larter Bahnhof. Yeah, Bahnhof is like a transportation station. Bahn meaning, like the Autobahn is the transportation mode for auto or cars. So a Bahnhof, I believe, is like a transportation hub. So a circular track about 300 meters long was built in the machine hall near the entrance. Okay, so yeah, it's a machine hall, and there's a train station. So 300 meters, for all of my American friends, is roughly 100 feet, give or take. So the small locomotive had 3 open passenger cars, each for 6 people. At the exhibition opening, Werner Siemens personally presented his development on May 31st, 1879. There it is, 147 years ago. The electric railway was a highlight and a major attraction during the 4-month-long Berlin Trade Exhibition. By September 30th, 1879, a total of 86,398 people had been transported at a speed of 7 kilometers, 7 clicks per hour. Just to give you an idea, again, for my American friends, 7 kilometers or kilometers per hour is roughly 4 miles per hour. You know what the average human walking speed is? 3 miles per hour. So breakneck speeds, people. This guy tried to reverse engineer stuff and failed miserably. At least that's what I figure. So anyways, it finishes off by saying the locomotive was operated with a direct current of 150 volts. The electrical energy was transmitted via the 2 rails and an insulated iron band position in between. Also, the outer rails were electrified, and the center band rail was not. It was insulated. Okay, that's backwards to how a lot of metros run now, like the one in Montreal. The tracks are not electrified, and the center is. And I believe New York is like that. Aren't a lot of subways like that? Or am I getting that? Am I crazy or am I getting that backwards? Anyway, it had a rotor mounted along the longitudinal axis and a side-mounted excitation coils. The track had a track gauge of 490 millimeters. So that's what, say 5 centimeters? No, 50 centimeters. Is that right? Yeah, 50 centimeters. No, that can't be right. 50 centimeters is a huge gauge. I mean, a 12-inch ruler is 30 centimeters. Must be 5 centimeters, 4.9 centimeters, which is about 3 inches-ish. Anyway, I'm not here to do math. Wiley Metz says my lawn tractor does 7 miles per hour. There you go. Yeah, brisk walk, right? Or, just go for a jog, or as they would say in Germany, jogging. I believe it's a soft J. Jogging. Anyways, in the following years, this electric exhibition railway was also demonstrated in other cities. Interest was so great that Siemens had to build several similar railways. In other words, he had them built for him, and then he had it shipped out on site, and then he would put the track together and put the clickety-clack trolley on it, I guess. Exhibition locations included Brussels for the 50th anniversary of Belgian independence in the Parc du Cinquantenaire. So Belgium. Brussels, Belgium, 1880. The London Crystal Palace, also in 1880, so he was busy that year. Frankfurt in 1881, Copenhagen, 1882, and Moscow for the All-Russian Industrial and Handicraft Exhibition in 1882. So an original preserved locomotive, because he had several built at this point, right, is part of the collection at the Deutsche Museum in München. The German Museum of Technology in Berlin has a replica of the locomotive on display. So here again, right? Well, this museum has a replica and the other one has the real thing. Well, who's to say what is what? There's a photo. First electric locomotive by Siemens at the Berlin Trade Exhibition in 1879. There it is right there. These people, well, except for maybe this guy and this lady, these people do not appear to be having a good time at all. This is Siemens here. So what else we've got here real quick. Oh yeah, this is the plan for the Berlin, whatever this is. Der Ausstellung. Again, my apologies. I'm butchering that, but I do not speak German and obviously cannot read it either. Vorderhalle, so the forward hall. Mittelhalle, the middle hall, I'm going to guess. What else do we have here? Maschinenhalle. Okay, yeah, sure, that makes sense. The machine hall. Metal industry here. Okay, so there's a bunch of wings in what looks like one big building, maybe, on part of a larger exhibition grounds. Look at the landscaping and all the like all the design in the landscaping. Fountains and little pavilions. There's a Kaiser's pavilion. There's another fountain. Of course, all of the symbolism in the designs. Look at this. So within this building, you have these sort of open courtyards where you have a fountain, another fountain. This is font. So what is that, a fountain, or maybe it's a drinking fountain? And then a pavilion within the larger complex with an obelisk. So that's very interesting. Oh, and then here you have some restaurants, administrative offices, administrative or official offices here, looks like. I don't see anything that's designated as transportation, but okay. It's that kind of interesting, though. Oh, yes, and here we go. There's the thumbnail. So I love how they build these thatched roof hut style structures, very rough looking wooden gazebo here, some kind of crappy shingle roof here, again, wooden structure, to try to push the narrative that, oh, early on, look at this stalwart inventor here, the first to do this and that with this electric streetcar trolley tram thing. Title's here. Hello, good to see you. Welcome, Title. So, but as you'll see, that it is the exact same time period. Later on in the show, we're going to have a look at some photos that basically puts this narrative to bed right quick, fast, and in a hurry there, bud. Mind you, I will also just point out here, I'm sure many of you have noticed already, we've got, I don't know if this is a pathway or maybe a water. It looks like it could be dirt, like a dirt pathway. But then you've got some kind of brick wall built up here, a couple of big stones, and these people going for a ride. None of them look impressed or happy at all, except for maybe this guy back here. He's having a great time. The guy right back here is having a ball. Oh, man. And there it is, people. The Siemens locomotive from 1879 at the Dutch Museum in Munich. There's that third rail. So apparently the outer tracks initially were electrified, and the center one provided the insulation. So you had your passengers sitting with their feet right next to the electrified track, did you? Great. It's fantastic design. Looks like that's all we're going to get. All right, so there's that one there for you. Again, links below for all of these. Let's have a look into this guy, this Werner von Siemens guy, real quick here. We won't get too far into the weeds on this fella. Again, from the Wikipedia, link below, as always. Ernst Werner Siemens, or von Siemens. He's German, of course. Born December 13th, 1816, and passed December 6th, 1892. He was a German electrical engineer, inventor, and industrialist. Siemens's name has been adopted as the SI unit of the electrical conductance, the Siemens. So his name's now used as a way to measure conductivity in electricity. Yeah, that's what I would think too, right? Good point. Old World Mi'kmaq says, basically the German Siemens translates to Simon or Simons. Yeah, so he's Ernie Simons. Ernie Simons. How you doing, Ernie? No, not that Ernie. Hiya, Bert. So he founded the electrical and telecommunications conglomerate Siemens. Yes, the big, massive global company. Oops, I'm sorry about that. I got a little click happy there. He invented the electric tram, the trolley bus, the electric locomotive, and the electric elevator. So I was already suspicious of Ernie Simons here, as I am with most of these cats, right? But when they start stacking multiple inventions, accomplishments, I mean, yes, given they are all sort of interrelated, except for the elevator, really, with the exception that it uses an electric motor based on the dynamo that he built or invented. Anyways, his dynamo, there it is. For those of you that don't know, it's an electrical generator that creates direct current using a commutator and uses self-powering electromagnets for the stator field rather than permanent magnets. Dynamos are self-starting by using residual magnetic field left in the iron cores of the electromagnets. So his dynamo laid the foundation for modern age of electricity, and he was involved in the development of the electric car. Well, that too now, which goes back to the 1870s, 80s as well. People say, oh, yeah, the electric car goes back to the 1920s. Nope, I think the 1870s, 1880s. Supposedly this guy, of course, had a huge hand in it. So yeah, then it gets into, his early years, his later years, his personal life, and then all the patents that he had. So I can link below for that fella. We don't need to get, again, too far into the weeds with him. I'd rather have a little bit of a closer look at this great industrial exhibition of Berlin. Now, the one that I found was actually from 1896, but it does link in the history of the exposition itself to the earlier 1879 exhibition. So we'll have a look at that. And again, this is just the Wikipedia, just to give a quick overview. So the Great Industrial Exhibition of Berlin in 1896 was a large exposition, that also been dubbed the Impeded World Fair. Yeah, because they tried to host a World Fair, and for some reason the Kaiser didn't. Nope, I don't want it. And it took a while, and eventually they did. So there were some precursors, like the first Berlin Industrial Exposition, initiated by Prussian Minister Christian Peter Wilhelm Booth. The trade fair took place September 1st to the 15th of October, way back in 1822. Then they had one in 1827, 5 years later. In 1844, the General German Industrial Exhibition took place in the old Arsenal House at the Zughaus of Berlin. Look at this joint, people. There we go. So the Berlin Industrial Exposition of 1879, there's where we're looking for. In 1879, a large exhibition was set in an exhibition park created near the Lehrte station. So this is the main railway station in Berlin. It came into full operation 2 days after the ceremonial opening. May 2006. Oh, the modern version of. Located on the site of the historic station and on the Berlin S-Bahn suburban railway. So the exhibition was not only a show of technological advancements, but also created as an amusement park. So there you go. So it was like a trolley park or, an electric park. We've seen those in the United States. There's a few instances of those up here in Canada land. Some of the more famous ones are, like Coney Island, for example. It was kind of the end of the line for a subway or a trolley tram system, a streetcar line. We even had one here in Old Calgary. So that's basically what it was, the end of the line electric trolley park that they built this exhibition grounds around. And then they eventually, in 1879, started having these industrial expositions here. And again, the confusing language, exhibition, exposition. So when you're looking it up on the Goggle machine or whatever search engine you're using, it can become kind of convoluted. The waters become muddied, excuse me. So one of the main attractions of the event was the first electric locomotive from Siemens and Halske. Originally built for use in a coal mine. So there it is, the coal mine. So that's what kind of mine. It pulled 3 small cars fitted with wooden benches, each car being capable of carrying 6 passengers, for a ride along a 300-meter circular track, 100-foot roughly circular track. Electrical power was supplied to a third rail from a nearby generating station. During the 4 months of the exhibition, it carried 90,000 passengers. The original locomotive is now displayed, yada, yada, yada. So after the successful World's Fairs in London and Paris, the Berlin press argued that a large World Fair would be held in Berlin as well, especially for the Bavarian Berliner Kaufleute und Industrielle Mirbedarf, whatever, Association of Merchants and Industrialists. So this was on the forefront. The association had been founded for the Industrial Exhibition of 1879. Its chairman, Max Ludwig Goldberger, took it as a personal aim of his life to make a World Fair happen in Berlin. He lived in the United States for a time. He had written a book called Land de whatever, literally the country of boundless possibilities, the German wording for the catchphrase of Land of Opportunity. He knew quite well of the international benefits of the industry deriving from a World Fair, with the Eiffel Tower showing the industrial strength on the World Fair in Paris of 1889. The national press was nearly frantic about a German World Fair to show off the Erbfind. In other words, thumb their noses or, flip the bird at the French. So basically, according to this, the official narrative here, that they were looking to get a World Industrial Fair or a World's Fair hosted in Germany, in Berlin, because they wanted to stick it to the French. Howdy, Red Brick. Good to see you. So despite eager proposition around, the National Chamber of Commerce as well as the Council of Ministers rejected the idea multiple times due to the financial situation of the Reich. Even though the Emperor Wilhelm II was well known for some grandstanding in his time, he was very opposed to the idea of a world fair. On July 20th, 1892, he wrote to his chancellor, Leon von Caprivi, Paris's fame keeps Berliners from sleeping. Berlin is a major city. As such, it must have an exhibition. This is completely false. Paris is simply what Berlin will hopefully never become, the biggest whorehouse in the world. Wow. Wow. Man, oh man. I don't want it because I don't want to be compared to Paris because Paris is just a giant whorehouse. Oh man. In a kind of defiance action, the Association of Berlin Merchants and Industrialists took over the task and they funded an interest group to prepare for the exhibition. Due to the political conflict, the exhibition could not be called World Fair. However, instead, they related the project to the earlier industrial exhibitions in Berlin, and the project was run under the name of Industrial Exhibition of Berlin 1896. So yeah, there you go. Notable attractions: food industry, a colonial exhibit, and of course the Great Telescope. Oh yeah. So I found that to be rather interesting. A few stumbling blocks to get the thing going, just so a guy can unveil his electric tram. Say what you will. So what do you say we quickly look at the history of the trams in Berlin, and we'll take a mid-show break, and when we come back, we'll have a look at some old-time photographs there, huh? What do you think? Sound good? Yeah, William. King George V's cousin, and Tsar Nicholas's cousin. And then there was one more. There was four that were cousins. They were the grandchildren of Queen Victoria.
Oh, hello, loyal subjects, 'tis I, your rightful ruler and true God-given monarch, Queen Victoria. We are so amused and delighted that you have chosen to make a reference of us in your broadcast. Good day.
Sorry, I cannot mention Queen Vicky without going into a terrible impression. It's probably not at all what she sounded like. I'm probably not even doing the right British accent. I don't know if I'm doing a London accent. Anyway, trams in Berlin. Let's go down to history here. There we go. History. In 1865, a horse tramway. And then they give us this. They don't even bother to give us a photograph, a real photograph. They give us a colored etching. I guess they think it makes it look more, I don't know, legit, more it's ingrained into our consciousness because it was photographs, then it ended up on postcards, Anyway, so it was established in Berlin. So in Berlin in 1865, that's when they established their first tramway system, pulled by poor horses. In 1881, the world's first electric tram line was opened in the city. Numerous private and municipal operating companies constructed new routes.
It's hot route. What is hot route?
So isn't this what we always hear? It suddenly is invented, and then all of a sudden everybody's scrambling to install their own version of an electric trolley system. And we're doing this part of the city, you're doing that part of the city, and it becomes a turf war where you can't pay your one nickel fare or whatever and ride from where you want to go or where you've done been to where you want to go and be. You know what I'm saying? You got to do to downtown and get off downtown and get on pay another nickel for a different company and get on that tram or trolley and clickety-clack, across to the suburbs, and you get off the terminus there. And then, you got to pay another nickel to get on a different system to make it out to the suburbs to go and visit your Aunt Flo or whatever. Or your favorite Fraulein in this case. All these competing companies just seem to pop up out of nowhere. And then eventually the city comes along and we're going to put it all there. There's one. It's absolutely ridiculous. Well, and that's true too, right? That's what they tell us, right? On Freemason Cousin Vinny in the box makes a good point. Yeah, but cameras took 10 hours to expose a photo and the horse couldn't keep still, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, so they have to give us a sketch. So again, numerous private and municipal operating companies constructed new routes. So by the end of the 19th century, the network had developed quite rapidly, and the horse trams had been replaced by electric ones. By 1930, the network had a route length of over 630 kilometers or 390 miles, with more than 90 lines. In 1929, all operating companies were, there it is, unified into the BVG, the, I don't know, whatever, the German, the Berlin, municipal railway or something, electric railway. After WW2, it was divided into Eastern and Western Company, but was once again reunited in 92. So there you go. Horse buses. The public transport system of Berlin is the oldest one in Germany. Of course it is. So that's why, of course, then the very first electric streetcar trolley, that tram system 147 years ago today, that had to be rolled out in Berlin, because Berlin, of course, don't you see, has a strong history and a very sturdy past of public transport going back to 1825. So where else, right? The first bus line from Brandenburger Tor, this place, wow, to Charlottenburg, that place, man, oh man, was opened by Simon Kremser. Of course, no page for that guy. Already with a timetable. Now he just had the schedule all figured out, buddy, in 1825. First bus service inside the city operated from 1840 between Alexanderplatz and Potsdam Bahnhof. It was run by Israel Moses Hinoch, who had run the cab service since 1850. On the 1st of January, Happy New Year, 1847, the concessionary Berlin Bus Company started its first horse-drawn bus line. The growing market witnessed the launch of numerous additional companies, with 36 bus companies in Berlin by 1864. So this is what I refer to and have referred to many times on the channel here as the omnibus. That's the name I heard. And it's basically a fancier version of a stagecoach. Picture a stagecoach, but a stretch limo version of a stagecoach, where you would have multiple rows of seating, often with an aisle down the middle. So 2 and 2 with an aisle down the middle. And it was like a bus stagecoach that would be pulled by a team of 2, sometimes 4 horses. And it wasn't on a track, so you were unlimited in where the driver could guide the horse or horses to take you. So it was like a taxi or a bus. Now, the omnibuses or horse buses did have specific routes or routes with specific stops. So a little different than a hansom cab or a horse-drawn taxi, where you could get on and say, "Take me to Park Avenue, Bob, see?" And then the guy would take you to Park Avenue or wherever, or in this case, take you to Alexanderplatz, and you would get off and pay your fare. So, in my opinion, if you're going to have a horse-drawn mode of transportation, the omnibus is actually better than hooking horses up to a streetcar trolley, where it's limited to only where the tracks are. That's why I think that the trains in general, the steam locomotive passenger and freight trains, the big boy and all them steam locomotives, the choo-choos, and the electric trolleys, and the whole entire infrastructure already existed. It was wiped out in the most recent last cataclysm. And when the reset was rolled out, this was reverse engineered and uncovered and dusted off and repaired to the best of their ability in the 1880s. And as things developed further, then they got the electricity going. But by that time, they already had horses pulling these trolleys that they've uncovered in, trolley barns, buildings that survived, some that maybe were slightly busted up, but could be, fixed up. And then before you know it, electricity, now we can dispense with the horses and hook this thing up to a power line. But ain't it funny how the machine or the mode of transportation itself looks exactly like the electric version? So again, it's like they had a premonition. There were a bunch of, I don't know, they all had ESP, like one of Professor X's X-Men in the comic books. And they were able to foresee that, well, if we build them sturdy like this, eventually we can electrify them. But for now, we'll hook horses up. Like, you see what I'm saying? When they already had a system that was unfettered by track, which was pulled by horses. So they had this first, then they found these and they went, wow, let's hook the horses up to those. Anyways, 36 of these horse-drawn buses pop up, 36 of these companies between 1825 and 1864. So then on June 22nd, 1865, the opening of Berlin's first horse tramway, there's that photo again, that drawing, marked the beginning of the age of trams in Germany, stretching from Brandenburger Tor along today's Straße des 17, look at that, June 17th Road, to the same Charlottenburg. 2 months later, on August 28th, it was extended along these places near today's Museum Island, a terminus which still in service today. Like the horse-drawn bus, many companies took advantage of the new development and built horse-drawn tram networks in all parts of today's urban area. So again, just these companies, we're just going to put on our own, bud. Monkey see, monkey do, and it just pops up overnight, essentially. One guy's doing it, so hey, I'm going to do it. I'm surprised there weren't turf wars with this nonsense going on. I mean, you know what? Let me know in the chat what you think. But personally, you know what I think.
Shenanigans.
That sums it up. But be that as it may. Kathy says, doesn't make sense. So does Wiley. That doesn't make sense. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
That doesn't make sense.
You know what I mean? Oh, man. All right, let's last little bit of this pill to swallow. It is hilarious. So in 1873, a route from Rosenthaler Platz to the Gesundbrunnen, was opened to be operated by the new Grobe Berliner Hassenpfeffer Great Berlin Horse Railway, which later became the dominant company in Berlin under the name of Great Berlin Tramway. May 16th, 1881, the region of Berlin again made transport history. In the village of Grobe Lichterfelde, was incorporated into Berlin 39 years and opened the world's first electric tramway. The electric tram was built to 1,000 millimeters or 3 feet, 3 3/8 meter gauge. So the gauge between the tracks, that's the space. So yeah, the other one was 43 or however many centimeters. I confused it earlier with trying to convert the metric. Anyway, ran from today's suburban station Lichterfelde Ost to the cadet school on in Frankenstein Alley. Really? Frankenstein Alley? Oh, Finkenstein, excuse me. Whew. German is rough. No wonder they always seem angry all the time. You know what I'm saying? Just, maybe it's just because of the language, right? Even when they say hello to you, Guten Tag! Yikes.
That's racist!
Well, I'm just saying, to mine Anglo ears. Initially, the route was intended merely as a testing facility. Oh, so the guy just set this up just to test it. Seems named it an elevated line taken down from its pillars and girders. So he basically said, oh, it's like, it's up high, but we've got it just down on street level, because he wanted to build a network of electric elevated lines in Berlin. But the skeptical town council did not allow him to do this until 1902, when the first elevated line opened. So initially he wanted it above the ground anyways, so they say. And the city council said, nope. So he built it street level. And then later on they lamented, I guess, in 1902 and said, all right, go ahead, bud. The first tests of the electric traction on Berlin's standard gauge began on May 1st, 1882 with overhead supply, and in 1886 with batteries. Were not very successful. The electric traction of standard gauge trams in Berlin was definitively established in 1895. The first tram line with an overhead track supply ran in an industrial area near Berlin Gessenbrunnen station, with first line in a more inhabited area operated with batteries for its first year. A catenary was installed 4 years later. In 1902, electrification with overhead wiring had been completed, except for a very small number of lines on the periphery. So they had electrified track, they had overhead lines, they had battery-operated cars that didn't need any outside power source whatsoever. It was all over the place. It was a smorgasbord. The last horse-drawn tram line closed in 1910. Holy smokes. 8 years after. Underground trams. Oh, yeah, that's right. We can't forget about the subway. December 28th, 1899, it became possible to travel underground, even under the Spree, which is a river or a canal, really. Upon its completion of the Spree tunnel between Strahlau and Treptow, owing to structural problems, it was closed 1932. From February 1916 to 1951, the tram had a second tunnel, the Linden Tunnel, passing under the well-known boulevard Unter den Linden. Look at that area. Man, exquisite. Absolutely exquisite. So then, of course, a bunch of different companies operated it through its years, yada, yada, yada. And it was taken over by, the city eventually. Then they give you a chart of all their nonsense, which supposedly helps you to keep track of everything, but actually, as per usual, only serves to confuse the matter even further. But if you want to have a look at that yourself, again, link below for that one, as well as everything we've covered so far. And we are just past the 1 hour mark of the show here. And with that, I'm going to take a mid-show break, and I'm going to show you some old-timey video footage from Berlin as well. This is from 1909, however. Some city scenes, street scenes in Berlin, 1909, and I'm very, very proud to present it, accompanied with some music from a friend of mine, friend of ours, over here, friend of the show, Dragon Sage and his band, the Sex Witch. That's right, Dragon Sage. I think he's traveling right now, if I'm not mistaken. But this video here, Berlin, 1909, 3 minutes, just over 3.5 minutes long. Stick around. Be right back after about 3.5, and then we'll have a look at some photos of these old trains, the tram system itself, a little bit of the fair, and the city of Berlin in the 1890s. All right, so stick around. Be right back. Cheers. All right, and we are back. Welcome back, everyone. Frankie here, New West Reset. Hello. Thank you very much for shooting in. Joining a fella here for another one, another live one. As a matter of fact, New West Reset live. Episode 173 here today, looking at the first electric streetcar trolley tram system from the Berlin Trade Exhibition of 1879. It was 147 years ago today, May 31st, that the world's first electric streetcar tram system was presented to the public. It was unveiled at the Berlin Trade Exhibition in 1879. So thank you very much for being here. We covered everything to do with the official His Story, the official narrative, the top half of the show, and links below for everything that we've covered thus far. Thanks for being here. If you haven't already, and you're enjoying the show, but you haven't already, please help a fellow out. Give a like, share, subscribe. If you're watching this after the live, thank you very much. Maybe leave a comment for a guy down below. You know, do all the stuff to help a fellow out. Thank you to everybody for joining me here from HooTubes and from Rumble, and for winding down your weekend for the Sunday Fun Day show there, eh, bud? Woo! Woo! What did you think of that, the Sex Witch song? That's our buddy Dragon Sage. That's his band. So I'm very, very proud to present that to you. I hope you enjoyed it. Please head over to either Dragon Sage's YouTube channel or to the Sex Witch Band's YouTube channel. Links in those channels will take you to where you could purchase your very own copy of that vinyl album release. And also, I've put up some samples of me unboxing when my copy of the vinyl album got to me in the mail. Thank you once again, there, buddy. That's Dragon Sage. Let's give a howdy to Dragon Sage. But anyways, I on the Instagram there, I put up a video of me doing an unboxing and then pulling the record out of the cover and checking out the label on the record and what the cover art looked like. And then I popping it on the old stereo to give you a quick little taste, just a tasty little morsel. It is there for you. But yes, please go over to Dragon Sage. There's the link. Thank you very much, Hippie. Appreciate that. So thanks for being here. Kinley Jackson, KJ in the box. Our old buddy Sig Sauer is here as well. Howdy, Sig. Wiley Metz and Kathy Broughton here as well. George Prokopenko. Good to see you, George. Turtle's here. Got Red Brick in the box as well. Howdy, howdy. There's Ross, Water the Tree. Please check out his channel as well. Does some fantastic boots on the ground and deep dives into the official narrative, which I agree with Kathy. She says the official narrative is basically BS. There it is. Official narrative's complete BS. Yeah, for the most part, I would agree. They do pepper some truth in there so that, you know, when you're looking into it and you start questioning stuff, then they could say, oh, hold on a second. No, look right there. It says, and that one little thing or a couple of little things sprinkled in there somehow makes all the other stuff okay. But my question to you is, how much shit has to be how much shit has to be in a ham sandwich before you consider it now a shit sandwich? 10% shit? 20% shit? Does 50% of your ham sandwich have to be shit before you'll consider it a shit sandwich and no longer eat it? I'm just asking. I'm just asking questions.
Let me ask you something. How come you asking so many jackassy questions?
Pacific Northwest uncovered in the box is 1%. I would say less, hopefully, right? If it's anything more than 1 part per million, I'm going to say no thank you. First of all, I'm going to say who made this sandwich. Somebody who works at Tim Hortons. You know? Hey, buddy, I have your sandwich ready. You know what? I'm just noticing patterns. That's all it is. It's a sham sandwich. Part shit, part ham. You got it. Plain spoken Jane is here. Good to see you. Oh, yeah, I'm such a fun. Just call me the New West Buddha.
Hey, Frankie Buddha over here.
That's a terrible nickname. I much prefer Frankie Fingers. Frankie Fingers. Anyway, enough screwing around now. Come on now. Settle down. Let's hunker down and buckle in. Got a nice file folder here of photographs. Some of the quality is better than others, but I tried to get as many of good quality as I could find. Some of them I just couldn't find a better version of, so I had to go with whatever it was. But be that as it may, it's a decent sized file. And again, I've got some of the actual, the very first streetcar trolley tram, the electric passenger version. A couple of the official photos, some of which we've already seen, but at least these we can zoom in on. And again, some of the fairgrounds or the fair itself, a few buildings or whatever. Then we're going to hop right into Berlin in the 1890s. So you'll excuse the watermarks, but yeah, there we go. I think we saw this one already as well. But again, aside from this guy and maybe this lady here, nobody's really having a good time except for Mr. Siemens, who's just raking in the bucks. Now, again, here's this photo. I downloaded this because, again, I wanted to remind you to keep in mind what they're trying to build is the official narrative here. With all of this so-called primitive stuff set up here with sticks and shingles. And this genius can come up with this thing. It's got to be accredited to this guy. He came up with the electric thing to power it, and then he came up with the little engine that he could sit on, and then he came up with this whole cockamamie thing. Okay, so keep this nonsense in mind, as well as the official narrative that we discussed in the top half of the show. This thing, wood and, basically wood and steel and copper, right? There it is in all its glory. The guy couldn't even give himself a padded seat. Like, are you joking me there, bud? You're not even going to put a padded, upholstered leather. Just takes a, what, 1.5 by 1.5 piece of leather, some cotton batting, and some horsehair, and some upholstery tacks and a tack hammer. I could do that. I could do that. And I'm not an upholsterer. No, you can put all this together, but I'm still going to ride rough on this thing, bud. Oh, for sure there, bud. I mean, the curves here, very nice. This is accommodating your passengers to some extent. This just looks brutal, bud. As you can see, there's nary a suspension system to be had here. The feet sit way up here. It's a good thing he's got some bumpers on the front. This giant bell, I guess, but no padded seat. Nope. So anyways, here's a sketch of the 1879 Berlin Industrial Exhibition. Why they did not take a photo of this, I don't know. I mean, they had people demonstrating their flying dirigible machines, and they had hot air balloons. Cameras had been around for about roughly 30 years at this point. So why they couldn't float somebody up, take aerial photograph. They just give you this sketching. I don't know, but anyway, you can see it was quite the big to-do. And of course, there's your horse-drawn tram, the horse-drawn trolley, taking folks to the fair where they're going to see the electric trolley. That's what's happening here. That's what's happening here. The infamous Nick's Roofing in the box. Howdy, Nick. Good to see a wet day in Calgary. A local, I believe. And yes, indeed, it's been raining pretty much all day. It started raining last night. Supposed to get 3 days of rain, so got to keep an eye on the bow and the elbow there, bud. Can't be farting around with that BS. I only live about 150, 200 yards from the Bow River. It's got to get pretty high to sneak up to where I am in Sonalta here, but guys keeping an eye. Oh, for a guy like yourself, you better believe it. And you know what? It's spring. We're supposed to have rain. So there it is. I love it anyways, because it beats snow hands down. And it also, helps. It really helps to deter when they purposely set forest fires and call them wildfires, because it's so dry, because we didn't get much rain this past spring. And we didn't get enough snow. If that, we had an ass load of snow this winter. And we've had a decent amount of rain already this spring. And this isn't even the rainy time yet. We could still get snow. Hell, we could get snow tomorrow. But it's good to see you, bud. Welcome to the show. Thank you I think I've seen you over on the Insta there, bud, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, thanks for joining me here for the live show. Here's a sketch of, this was the building that this jalopy was presented in. As you can see, it's quite exquisite and very much the telltale signs of some kind of World's Fair or exhibition building. Got your fountain up front. Again, this is 1879. Why they couldn't take an up-close photo? This is about as good as we're going to get. So that's this building here. The other impressive building is that one there. But again, you can see they've got all these aren't even the horse-drawn buses, right? The omnibuses. These are just cabs, taxis lined up. But you got a nice castle back here. Sure, massive structures, man. Look at the size of this thing, son. This over here. This thing's a beast, too. So this is some of the infrastructure that they had for their, basically their public transportation system. The surface trolleys and the subway. Your streetcars and your subways. And then don't forget in, 1902, I want to say, the elevated, the L. So this is it. Untergrundbahn. So there you go. That's to get to the underground mode of transport. The subway. Cousin Vinny on Freemason says, I will never get over the stupidity of the horse-drawn trolley story. Me neither. Absolutely. I'm with you 100%. You know what I think about
Shenanigans.
That's what I think. That's what I think. So much so, as a matter of fact, that I put it on a t-shirt. That's right. I put it on a t-shirt. Right there. So there you go. Anyway, let's get back to but that's how much I think it's the dumbest thing ever, is because I just had to put it on a t-shirt. And for those of you who are asking, and I get asked this quite often or get sent an email about this quite often, where you can find my merch store. I don't have a merch store there, bud. I had these 2 designs of t-shirts printed. I designed them, took them to local printers right here in Sonalta. I had a bunch printed because people wanted to financially support the channel. And I wasn't going to monetize my channel because I get scrutinized enough by the Hootubes. So people said, well, I want to donate to your channel somehow. So I relented and started the PayPal. And I said, all right, you know what? I'm going to get these t-shirts printed. And for people who are kind enough and generous enough to donate, whether it's $5 or $15, if you give me what shirt size you wear and your mailing address, I'll send you a t-shirt. So that's where that comes from. Anyways, back to what's most important, because really the best way to support the channel is just to do all the things down here, down below, down here, just to help a fella out, But there's your infrastructure. Boom. Beautiful tile work. Look at all this mosaic tile, not to mention the brick-lined streets. Look at this. Could this mean multiple platforms? So different stairways take you to different platforms? Or maybe one side of the platform and you know what I mean? The platform's in the middle and there's 2 lines running one on either side. So this gets you one side of the platform or the other? I don't know. Or maybe trains run in the middle and there's platforms on either side. I'm not sure how it's set up, to be honest. Let's have a look. Yeah, it looks like you have a platform in the middle, a track here, and a track here. And just look at this. I don't even know what this is. Can't be your ticket booth. You're already down there. Some kind of merchant, maybe? Some kind of vendor set up here? I don't know. Looks like there might be something in here. Maybe it's, newspapers, magazines, what have you. Not sure what this thing is. And then this looks like a telephone booth. It's very impressive. And again, quite the infrastructure. This is that photo of the trolley going under this major avenue, close to Alexanderplatz. Well, that I would say absolutely, yeah, I would agree. Channel 53 in the box says subways are a whole nother thing to consider. Yeah, I mean it might be easy enough if you go by the official narrative to say, okay, you know what, we're going to put some track along the street and have horses pull some of these trolleys around until we electrify it. Not only, by the way, mind you, and I've made this point a few times here as well, not only does it seem like they anticipated what the trolley cars themselves would be like, and the design didn't change much from horse-drawn to electrifying. It seemed like they just stuck horses onto electric carts that weren't electric yet. Electric cars, I should say, that weren't electric yet. But with that being said, there's also sorry, I'm getting sidetracked. Yes, a red brick. It says Berlin's rail network is huge. And again, not just to get sidetracked, but again, just for a second, don't forget they had the subway, they had the street level streetcar, and then eventually, so we're told, they had the elevated line. And then we've all seen, of course, the videos of, I'm not sure what city it was in. It wasn't in Berlin. It may have been Munich or I don't even know. But the sky train, basically, where the track is above and the train is suspended and it's on pivoted mechanisms. So as it takes a corner, it just kind of slowly glides. And you know what I'm saying? That's suspended train footage. But anyways, back to my point. It's not only that it seemed like they anticipated what the cars would look like and had horses hooked up to them, and then when they went electric, they didn't change the cars that much. But they also had to anticipate wide enough streets where you'd have one lane of traffic, a couple of trolley track lanes, or even just one, but usually two, and then another lane for vehicular traffic. Sometimes 2 lanes, 2 tracks, 2 more lanes. Big, wide-ass streets. Again, almost like they so-called built these cities, not to confuse it with that terrible Starship song, but built the cities with streets wide enough to anticipate 6 lanes of traffic. And I see this in small, dusty prairie towns here in Alberta where there's never been more than 1,000 people. But the streets are wide enough to have at least 4, 5 lanes of traffic. 2 lanes in some little 1,000-person town, sure. 2 lanes going, even your main street downtown, 2 lanes, sure. With maybe curbage for parking on either side. But no, we're talking massive wide streets. It's just crazy to me. Anyway, moving along here. This is to give you an idea of what we're talking about. But don't forget that photo we looked at with the guy with the, I'm going to sit on top and give you a ride on my new clickety-clack in 1879. We are roughly 2 decades ahead now on that. We had all those gazebos set up with thatched roofs, look like stick huts. But in reality, this is the setting that that fair was in, that Berlin exhibition. And mind you, this photo is from 1900, but there's your omnibus, there's your horse-drawn buses. Still at this point, I would say more convenient than now the electric tram, because again, you're obliged to stay on wherever this track is. Is it smoother and faster? Yeah, probably. Spittelmarket, Berlin. This is from a postcard, obviously. But what I like about this is they very obviously didn't alter the photo very much. They left in all these lines. Oftentimes they take these lines out and they colorize it and stuff. I mean, this has still been manipulated. They add in clouds. They paint the darkers darker and they highlight the highlights. This is 1875. This is that Stettener Bahnhof in Berlin. Kinley Jackson says, our streets are stupid wide here. I try to reason for the large cars back in the day for parking, but still, yeah, even if you take into account that, automobiles, in the teens, the 20s, 30s, 40s, 70s, 80s, most especially up until the 70s, right? With a few exceptions because of the so-called gas crisis in the 80s, right? The oil embargo and all that. But yeah, I mostly in my teenage years, 20s, even into my 30s, drove large GMs for the most part from the 70s, Impalas and, Caprice Classic and Pontiacs, Why? Because parts were easily available in junkyards and were cheap. Yeah, they were a little bit more expensive on gas, but they were much safer and much more reliable. But yeah, even taking into account, big stuff like Oldsmobile Delta 88s from 1978, a land yacht, the streets are still exceptionally huge. I mean, that's definitely something to consider. I mean, not every small city or town that we look at has something like this that could be a mooring station. You know, unless they have an armory with a tower on it that could have served as a mooring station. Like Calgary has an armory that has 4 towers on it, one on each corner. That's shaped very much like this. I mean, this whole thing could have been a mooring state or a hangar for airships. It solved multi-purpose. You know, maybe there was a trolley or train station here. This was the airship hangar. These were mooring or docking stations. Maybe these also connected you to the subway. I don't know. I'm just speculating. And then it all gets repurposed and reset to, no, this is just all for the train and the trolley. That's it. Airships? No, 9. Land barges, yeah. This photo is wacky to me because the other thing that I always thought to myself is you have these fleets of horse-drawn trolleys or trams. Plus you have all these omnibuses or horse-drawn taxis. Plus a lot of people had their own horse and buggy or horse and carts. Or folks just rode their horse into town, especially here in North America, right? The cowboys riding into town. You know, up until the 1870s, 80s, 1890s, even early 1900s, hell, even into the 1920s here in Alberta. Ride your horse into town. It was no big deal. You weren't thought of as being weird. Yeah, you had a lot of people that had bicycles. You're seeing cars here at this point. But there was a lot of stuff that was pulled by horse, trams and trolleys, the fire department, ambulances going to and from hospitals, taxis or hansom cabs, the Pony Express or letter carriers in general, getting your milk delivered, getting your coal delivered. Prior to the internal combustion engine, right, the cars, everything was pulled by horse. So where were all the horses kept? Well, this photo, it looks like you have a multi-tiered brick structure that they're using as stables. You've got a ramp here, and I clearly am seeing horses up here. And then there's another ramp here where there's a guy, you'll have to excuse, it gets a little pickleated, but there's a guy bringing his horse either up or down this ramp here. Then they've got this, which is maybe to load or unload feed or manure or I don't know what. So this is a very interesting photograph to me because it answers some questions as to where were all the horses kept in any major city. Anything that was, that was a vehicle had to be powered by a horse or a mule. So where were all the horses and mules kept? Sure, if you lived in the city and you had a horse-drawn carriage that you owned, you would have a carriage house behind your home, in your backyard, in your back garden. And there would be a small stable attached. Or maybe you would board your horse somewhere. But chances are, if your daily driver was a horse-drawn buggy, you had on site, on your own property, small accommodations for that. I've shown that many times on my boots in the ground videos here on the channel, where old world homes that I look at today, they're what they're using as their garage and their tool shed. Used to be a carriage house and a small stable that was converted. It only makes sense. I mean, it's not the first time we've seen stuff repurposed or rebuilt or built on top of older stuff. Now, mind you, this is all brick and big, huge arches and huge 3 floors here. You can clearly see a bunch of windows up here. So this top floor is actually quite high. But then you have these gangways, which look to be iron or steel. So this looks legit to me. So was this building, did it serve another purpose and it was repurposed to some horse stables downtown? And where would this be downtown? It wouldn't be right downtown because the stench, right? People would complain, business owners, residences. So it's probably going to be in the slaughterhouse, processing plant, butcher, industrial area part of town. I don't know. So I could kind of go on either way with this. In some ways, it answers some questions of where were all the horses kept. But in other ways, it's like, well, wait a second. Did they just find this big, huge brick building that served some other purpose and just put in some gangways and ramps and say, oh, no, it's a horse stable there, bud. So, and again, depending on where this is, I mean, this is Berlin, Germany. So in the winter, how are the horses getting up and down these ramps easily? Even if the guy is guiding the horse and the horse isn't attached to any cart, all the carts are on the main level. The horses are just up here and the horse comes down and then they hook them up to whatever. Even still, if this has got ice and snow, it's treacherous for man and beast. So I'm kind of on the fence. I will freely admit I'm on the fence about a photo like this. I don't think it's been manipulated. I'm not saying that. I don't think it's been manipulated. I just think that maybe the building is older and this was not its original purpose. It could be, but I don't know. Got a weird wooden box out here. What the hell is this? Like, see? Some wooden trunks out here. So I don't know. It looks like this was a higher arch and it's been filled in on the tops, but these ones have been left. So there's been some alterations already. Where's all the horse poop? Who knows? And where does it go? Right? I mean, if cities in the old world had municipal gardens and park areas, well, then obviously the horse manure or the road apples, as we call them around these here parts, well, that would be repurposed into compost and it would, Robert's your mother's brother, right? Perfect. It's a win-win. But how do they get it from point A to point B in here? Like that's some manual labor. You got to shovel the horse shit down 1, 2, 3 floors to ground level and have that hauled away or haul it away yourself. So yeah, I agree with Baja. Guaranteed it smelled like hell. So that's a good question. This thing, right? This box, is that the crapper box? Could be. Seems awfully low. These could be, where they store feed. Maybe. I don't know. But this thing, I don't know what this is. If it's a crapper box, there's only one on this whole floor and there's none on this floor. So yeah, good question though. Who knows, right? So this is Alexanderplatz that we've heard so much about. It's basically a big plaza, Alexander Place. Look at this beauty all over that we can see. As far as the eye can see here, bud. Well, come on, man. Look at this. Beautiful. Again, this is a little bit later on now. It's not as early. Later, further into the file, I should say. I've got some from an earlier time, from the 1890s. But still quite glorious. So there's an omnibus, a double-decker, bud. This is actually not even an omnibus. This is an actual bus. So we're late enough here now where we've got jalopies and automobiles now at this point. Post-1900. This is 1922. So at this point, still pre-WW2, post-WW1. And looking fantastic. Again, not the best quality. I think this is from a periodical, some publication that was scanned and then put online. But yeah, just a perfect example of just how eye-catching and beautiful Berlin was. Look at this. So there's your omnibus, your horse-drawn bus. Electric tram, horse and cart, and a bike with a, look at that. It's like a vendor of some sort. Nice. It's unusual. Look at this. This lady's pulling a cart. This is known as a Red River cart here in Canada land there, buddy, because of the Métis people, the half indigenous, half European early fur traders and so on used to pull these carts because then they didn't have to keep horses, you see. Because white Europeans intermarried with indigenous First Nations peoples in and around Manitoba and Western Ontario. They introduced the wheel, you see, to the indigenous folks. But rather than pulling it with a horse, they just pull it themselves. So this lady's used some old Canadian Red River cart technology. Maybe her name is Nellie. On Freemason Cousin Vinny. Is her name Nellie? Look at the canal here, too. Just like statues everywhere. And the lights are beautiful and decorative. Exquisite, man. What a place and what a time. Look at all this infrastructure. And even as you're going under bridges, yeah, we'll put the Green Man face here for you. And we'll put some statuary relief work. Not to mention all the arches and pillars and cupolas and domes. Now at this point, we've got the L. Look at this thing, whatever this is here in the foreground. It's got all the lights around it. This could be an entrance down. Don't know. So this is 1900s. This is Lustgarten. Here. Mit Konigal. So mit means with, and conical, I'm assuming, means with the cone, the conical dome. That's about as good as my German is going to get. Howdy, howdy. Rob Pollard in the box. Oi, 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 oi. Look at this beauty. Exquisite. What's this supposed to be? A fountain? It's not fountaining. Is it just a large basin for hobos? Well, that doesn't look like there was a lot of hobos around at this time. Just a bunch of ladies with their babies in their prams or carriages, baby carriages. And families hanging around in this nice, kids playing, tricycle going on here. Nice. Lovely. What do we have here? Again, 1890. Berlin. Oh, the Kaiser's Palace of Kaiser Wilhelm I. Look at that. Was is this? Oh, this is mein Hausen. Willkommen. It's no big deal. It's exquisite, of course. Of course, crazy antiquitech as well. You know, the usual symbology, right? Eagles and all these little nodes, nobules. They're probably shells or flowers. But just done to the, umpteenth degree, right? You're going to do double columns here for you, bud. How do you like that? That's going to put, 6, 5, or 7, or whatever their goofy numbers they like to use. We're just going to do a series of double columns. Look at that. Exquisite, man. Exquisite. The road does not look paved with brick or stone or anything. It just looks like compacted dirt. That's unfortunate. That's just his winter home. That's just my winter palace. Und Palace in Winter. Yeah, totally normal. This is Berlin Platz. So Berlin Place. You want to talk about statuary? I mean, they just got silly with it. This thing's lousy with statues. And then, just going to add a few extra here and here. Just randomly around. Beautiful. Not to mention the size of these windows, the height of these doors. Come on, man. Who are these built for? 12-foot people? Probably. Probably built by 12-foot people. And again, look at the light fixtures. And there's your omnibus. Another double-decker. Just rocking it London style here in Berlin. We always just think of double-decker as Londinium in jolly old England. But nope. Yeah, it seems odd though, right, Noah? Noah Montague in the box saying, yeah, they made the buildings without paved streets. Yeah, so you got to watch yourself in the spring when the roads are all muddy from rain, like what's going on outside my window right now. It makes it tough to haul around big stones and iron beams or even wood, even just the timber to make your scaffolding. Probably the lightest stuff you're ever going to haul to a job site is your timber. Pasture of Castles in the box. Good to see you. This is Berlin Neubwach. Walk, W-A-C-H. Neubwach, whatever that means. I'm sorry, I don't know. Again, these are all 1890. So just a few years before this, they were first rolling out the very first electric tram. And in the exhibition grounds where this guy had the outdoor version of this thing set up with the oval track to, have people taken around on this thing for a demonstration and have their photo taken nonetheless. All the buildings were just made out of sticks and dung in the background, apparently. So they're trying to sell that whole narrative. But meanwhile, this is actually what was going on. But still, you've got, these poor beasts pulling this. Now, again, if you're going downhill, this thing's going to pick up speed, especially if you got a bunch of people in it. So this guy has got to apply a brake, and this, these have reins on them, just like you see in the Clint Eastwood movies, stagecoaches, and you go, whoa there. I mean, it's different if it's, just you with your goofy wagon going down some hill. But when you got, 50 or 60 souls on board, you got to take her easy, bud. So, yeah, it becomes a little bit of a head scratcher. This is the Berlin Museum. My goodness gracious. Like at this early time period, 1890, like what do they have that's old enough really to be put in a museum? I mean, Germany became a country when? 1840s, 1860s? I mean, we think of it as being much older than that. But prior to that, it was just a bunch of city-states and, loosely affiliated, areas. Yeah, kind of like, the old Rome and whatever, like we're told. Again, look at the size of this thing. I mean, they don't mess around. The Germans don't really mess around. I will give them that. They're not just like half-assing this thing, bud. We're going to give you 2 fountains here instead of just one in the middle, because the middle is going to be a massive statue. Well, by the way, it's probably also a fountain. Like, absolutely incredible. This one is the coffee house. Can't read that, sorry, but that's just where you get some coffee. I mean, it's a hotel, but yeah, just, it's known for a coffee house. It's pretty exquisite, even if it is a hotel. Not to mention, again, all the tech, everything. Everything's got to be pointed skyward. Look at this. Okay, some of these streets are bricked or stoned or whatever, cobblestones, what have you. But, I mean, back to the point, a lot of them were not. Dirt, and going to get pretty muddy trying to haul all this stuff in to build it. Because, when these were built, this was not paved. Come on. So all the stone and whatever they used to build this, bricks and stone and iron. Again, even if they laid temporary track and brought it all in on steam locomotive train, they still got to unload it and move it around the job site when it's just dirt and mud. Victoria something. Oh, Victoria Hotel. There it is. Right. It says right there, Frankie. Julius Stout. Oh, that's where you get an orange Julius. Delicious. I'm kidding. Everybody's got this aversion to sunlight all of a sudden. Look at these, man. What are these things? There's no wires hooked up to this thing in terms of, So wait a second. Is this how their lights are hung over the street? Look at this. Look at this beautiful post, decorative. Goes up to a little section, all this different decorations on it. Goes up, oh, another section. Oh, we got to take a break and make it fancy again for some reason. Go up a little more. Now we've got a cross beam, but we got to make this all fancy. We can't just shove some nuts and bolts in there. Nope. Go up a little more up again. Got to decorate it because why not? All the time, money in the world. Up a little more. Oh, another little thing. And let's just put an eagle or whatever on this, or a dragon, or I can't tell what it is. Phoenix. Who knows? Some kind of winged or fiery beast, judging by what I'm seeing here. But then it goes down. Oh, a little decoration, little thing. Makes an X, and then they suspend this light from it, which is also super decorative and beautiful. And what, nary 50 feet away? There's another one for you, bud. Come on, man. And yet, 13 years earlier, they could barely have an electric tram going. And they had to demonstrate it and take a picture of it in front of gazebos made out of sticks with thatched roofs. And this is amazing. Look at all this. And it just keeps going all the way down. Look, there's a pedway over the street, just because that's super easy. We have a few pedways in Calgary that go from skyscraper to skyscraper downtown. It's actually a huge network. Much like Montreal, their underground, with their subway system is a huge network that goes, like hundreds and hundreds of feet. They have shopping malls, multi-level shopping malls, underground in Montreal. That's, connected to the subway. But anyway, has nothing to do with hollow earth theory or massive voids underneath major modern metropolises. But anyway, it's kind of like that, but above ground. Edmonton has them. I think Toronto has some. Calgary has some. Basically, cities that don't have an extensive subway system have these above ground pedways. And they're connecting buildings less and less. They're building less and less of these in Calgary because they're a pain in the ass, engineering wise. But yeah, in the 1890s, not a problem, bud. This looks like a double-decker one, too. Easy as pie. Easy as apple strudel. I cannot read that. My apologies. Now you can see that it looks like brick and cobblestone, maybe a combination of the two. So here you've got an electric trolley, and here you still have these poor horses pulling this one. Like, if you've got these going, stop this. It's cruel. It's different if he's pulling a buggy with a couple of people or a wooden wagon. Okay. You treat them well. You give them pets and apples and some good feed, and you brush them, water them. You give them a healthy environment to live in. Okay. But to have this one poor horse pulling this huge car, mind you, the same size as this electric one, and there's seating for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 rows. That looks like 6 people per row. So 40 plus people. If you've got this going, you don't need this going. Stop it. It's redonkulous. Look at this. What do you got here? Looks like we have an I and a V, folks. Yes. The globe symbology here. That's interesting. Something on the North Pole. Look at this, by the way. I could spend, hours looking at just one photo. They're exquisite. Berlin. I can't quite read it. It's probably giving you the street name. But again, here, look, their streets are so freaking wide here from building to building. Okay, this is one street here, people. They're so wide that we can have 2 lanes here. Then we can have a promenade with trees, then 2 more lanes, another promenade with trees, then a middle park area just to walk, where we could put some statues and gardens and fountains and more trees. Look how wide this street is. Like, what's going on? What are we talking about here? So you mean to tell me that they knew ahead of time that eventually we're going to have 6 to 8 lanes of traffic with cars and trams and people, that when these were built, when they tell us in the 1700s and early 1800s, well, we're that much of gifted city planners and have that much foresight. Like, everybody walk around with crystal balls around here? I don't see a single crystal ball. Blick Nacht den Linden. Blick Nacht den Linden. Okay, probably the street. Again, look how wide this MF is. Look at this. What in the Sam Steele's happening here? This is outstanding. Pardon my gushing, but come on, man. Everything just has to be, and it's not just Berlin. I mean, Berlin is just an exquisite example. But, even here in Canada, like Toronto, in the States, like New York, and it doesn't even have to be a big city, big, huge, quote unquote, world city like New York or Toronto. It can be like, Pine Bluff, Arkansas, or Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan. And if there's any tech left, old world stuff left, it looks like stuff like this. It's super embellished. Like, whoever crafted it, time was not an issue. Whoever commissioned him to make it so they could erect it, the city or whoever, money was no issue. Rattle off, a couple hundred of these for me, will you? You and your apprentices. And if they aren't left over, like in Calgary, there's not a lot of this left, but in old photos of Calgary, I mean, you can't swing a dead cat without hitting something like this. So, I mean, it's not just in Berlin. It's obviously all over Europe, all over the quote-unquote old world in terms of geographically the old world. But it's here in the West, too, and it's down under, and it's, it's, you name it, Asia, Africa, Russia, South America. Look at this. Come on, man. Something Market. Schillerplatz. Look at this. This looks really top heavy. This thing looks like it should be way further down or have wings, you know? Like this has wings coming up. This almost looks like it should have that too because it's so phallically top heavy. You know what I mean? We've got underground storm or drainage, so we've got some kind of pavement on the streets here. Obviously, sidewalks are paved. 1890s, man. Look at this. I mean, we couldn't have this today. Berlin or anywhere else. Like here in Calgary, like places like this are disappearing. Like Memorial Park downtown, where the Carnegie Library is. It used to have fountains and oval and round flower gardens and pathways. But now all the, the people that are hooked on the fentanyl and what have you, that somehow can lean over without tipping and falling. They're all there and they get chased out and, shake of a lamb's tail later, they're back. So it's not like families are picnicking and there's, beautiful flowers growing in there anymore. The city plants a few cheap flowers and they've shut down the fountains, and every once in a while the bylaw officers or the cops chase them away. And like I said, within an hour or less, they're back. But it was not a problem here, seemingly. Everything's well kept, groomed, landscaped. There's no litter on the ground. And it's not like whoever took this picture had the authority to say to, hey, clean up this now because I'm going to get set up in the morning and take a photo. Like it was like this. Look at this. Potsdam Platz. Palace Hotel, because why not have a 5-sided building as your hotel? Another one right here. Look at its twin right here. This is a Hotel Belvedere. Are you kidding me? Come on, man. And again, all the way down the street and all the tech. And just how wide and grand everything is. There's some paving stones of some sort. Curbs. Again, trees. Everything's neat and tidy. This guy's carrying a wheel on his shoulder. All right, sure. Jenny Malloy in the box says the people look inserted. Yeah, a lot of times what they're doing, these are photographs that have been prepped for print as postcards. That's why they have these labels that are embossed or printed right on. So often what these postcard companies do, in fact, 90% of the time, what they would do is they would take some paint and they would paint in the darks, and then they would take some white paint and maybe highlight some stuff here or there. And it was just to give more contrast to the photo, because they're printing off hundreds, if not thousands, of these postcards, presumably. Sometimes they even paint in some, fluffy clouds in the background or what have you, depending if it's going to be colorized or not, right? If it's not going to be colorized, it's not going to bother with the sky too much. They're just going to vanilla sky or whatever might be up there, dirigibles or what have you. Maybe downplay some of the tech. Maybe lop the tops off of some impressive buildings back here that are hard to explain. Whatever they need to do, right? So yeah, these people could very well have been here, but the darks, the blacks have been painted over with small paintbrushes and ink or paint. Like these have probably been added in. These highlights were drawn in afterwards. So, I mean, it's extremely difficult to find in free online archives photos that have not been touched up in some way, shape, or form. Again, these, they're ready for postcard, right? So this guy's mustache has been, touched up. here that they have painted in some fluffy clouds. Look at that. Boop, 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 boop. So again, you got to take, as with anything that you see online, you got to take it with a grain of salt. Now, has all this been manipulated? No, no. The sky, they've painted in some clouds. Very obvious here that they've just brushed these in. And they've added some highlights and some darks. Now, could they have removed stuff here? You know, that's really impressive. Absolutely. And we have seen them draw in vehicles. Like the really bad ones you can spot. I don't know how they fool these some people. Some people are totally fooled by it. See, this horse is not having a good time at all. But we know they have electric at this point. We've seen it. We have this canal system like in Venice. Berlin, Borsmith, Friedrichsbruck. I have no idea what that means. Mit means with. So Borsmith, Friedrichsbruck. Friedrichsbruck. So Friedrichsbruck is maybe the name of this river or canal. Bors, I don't know. Barge, maybe? Boat. No, boat is Boot. Das Boot. Right? I don't know. My German is awful. Again, I apologize. Definitely possible. Definitely possible, Jenny. Yeah. I wonder if the wide streets are to allow people to land their airships. Or even just dirigibles, right? It doesn't have to be a big, massive airship. There were different levels of dirigibles. Some that were, you know, you could seat 6. And then some that were like massive ocean liners, but they were airliners. Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely something that, it's obvious. I mean, there's no two ways about it. This has been manipulated. This was a photo. There was probably a glass plate negative. And they made a print. And then they've come in. They could have possibly removed some stuff. Absolutely. And they've definitely, I use the term manipulated because it's obviously they've painted in some clouds here. Now, is the whole thing fake? No, because stuff that's up in the foreground he wasn't able to focus properly. You can see that stuff in the background is fading naturally and getting out of focus. You could tell that the subject of the photograph, the photographer set up to frame this bridge, the Kaiser Wilhelmbrücke, as being the center attraction in this photo. You just happen to get some of this glory in the background because why not? And it's everywhere. So yeah, certainly to be again prepared for a postcard. You know, are they painting over dirigibles with this? No, I mean they could just white out the sky and then come back in and paint in clouds. I mean it's easy enough to do without having to paint over something. They could just remove it entirely and then add stuff in later on. But that being said, I mean, these structures, a lot of them are still there. Most of them are still there, actually. Not all, but most. So you can still go and look at them, interact with them, touch them, take your own photographs of them. But I just thought these were great because they were pretty high res. And again, even though they've been prepared and these are postcards, getting some wonderful shots. I mean, this I'm sure is still there, but a lot of this you can well imagine has been removed for whatever BS excuse they come up with, right? It's not safe anymore, or, you know, it's crumbling. We don't want it to fall and, you know, bop somebody in the head. You know, it's unsafe. It's had a fire. It got bombed in WW1 or 2. Whatever. You know, it got dynamited during the Great War. I mean, bombed by, you know what I'm saying? But nonetheless, I mean, the structures are exquisite. And just, again, when you think of what they were showing us, this brand new invention being rolled out. And again, I want to say that they did it on purpose with this marketing photo. Going right back to the beginning here. This photo with this shenanigan. Let's set up a gazebo and just make it out of sticks and a thatched roof on it, so that we can really push the narrative that this guy invented some new cutting edge technology in old-timey Berlin, Germany, when really what was going on was stuff like this. Yeah. Giants needed room to walk. Well, that's the other thing too, right? That's an excellent point. That is an excellent point. That's exactly right. Anyways, that's the end of that file, by the way. But yeah, that's exactly right. That's our buddy Phil, by the way, Phil Henry. So not only do we have really tall doors and windows and really tall buildings, or, instead of having, a 9 or 10-foot ceiling, a lot of these buildings, they have 15-foot vaulted ceilings or what have you, or 20-foot, 30-foot ceilings. You have your floor is 15 feet, and then your next second floor is another 15 feet. But taking that into consideration, then yeah, streets would need to be wider as well. It's a very, very good point. Yeah, pitiful gazebo. Okay, that's a pitiful gazebo. But yeah, I agree. It's a very good point. And yeah, as Odin's Raven is mentioning, yeah, blimp parking or dirigible or airship parking as well, which has been mentioned a few times. And that's another thing too, is how common were these things, right? We were told they were fairly common, and they were transatlantic travel, and the Germans with their Graf Zeppelins, right, would go from Berlin to a bunch of different cities through Germany. Then it would go to London and Paris, even though apparently they hated the Parisians. They're going to fly their dirigibles there anyway, their airships. But then across to New York and other cities in the US. I mean, there's footage of this that you can find right here on HooTubes. In fact, you can find a lot of it on this channel in my old vintage footage playlist, but also on my new channel, New West Rewind. So we're told that, yeah, they were fairly common. They were like ocean liners or like today's jumbo jets to travel if you wanted to go to Europe or whatever, right? Or from Europe to the UK. Or from the West out to Europe or to England and the UK or what have you. These things could get up into different layers in the atmosphere and go over like 400 miles per hour. Or is it kilometers per hour? I can't remember. But either way, fast. But how common were they? Because we're also told that at some of these World's Fairs or the Dominion exhibitions up here in Canada, that there were guys that were giving people rides on these things, and they were like 6-seaters, 8-seaters. And these were guys that were, again, inventors and industrialists that created their own dirigibles, their own smaller airships, powered different ways. And at these fairs, they would give people rides around the fairgrounds. You could get a view from a couple of 100 feet up. They put around up there, and then they come in for landing. All right, who's next? So were they as common as automobiles back then? You think just after the year 1900, in the early 1900s, you start seeing automobiles, right? And then in the teens, most especially. Not that everybody had a car, but, you'd have fairly early on, 1 out of 10 people had some kind of automobile. So did 1 out of 10 people have some kind of dirigible? I don't know. A lot of interesting questions. Anyway, with that said, I'm getting ready to wind this thing down here. Thank you very much for joining me here for the Sunday Fun Day live show. Still 31 of you watching between YouTube and Rumble, so thank you. I really appreciate all of you. Again, you're a great bunch, and I enjoy spending time with you. I love it. It's my favorite day of the week, winding down the weekend with you fine folks. That's a good point. It's a good point. Pacific Northwest uncovered says, I'm sure the Vatican knows. Yeah. I'm sure there's a few libraries that know. But the Vatican Library. Of course. Anyway, before I go, I usually like to leave things on a little bit of a high note, show you some funny, goofy videos or photos or something. Maybe a lot of times it's stuff that Kathy Broughton shared with me or stuff that I found that I just find funny. Last week I dropped the ball because I totally forgot. This week I've got a couple of things to share with you. Leave things with on a high note with a few laughs. Just because more often than not, these subject matters can get you riled up a little bit. And I don't want to leave you all angry and riled up, eh? Laughter's the best medicine because, you got to laugh to keep from crying. So, Anyways, spring's on its way. We just had Victoria Day long weekend up here in Canada land, Memorial Day weekend in the good old US of A. People are out grilling and barbecuing and having cookouts. People are fixing to go camping. So you got to dust off your outdoor skills. If you're going to grill using real wood like mesquite, or you got a smoker, or if you're going camping, you're going to need some firewood. This is how you do it. This is how you do it. Get a load of this guy, man. I bow to this guy. I felled a lot of trees in my day with my daddy and my granddaddy and my uncles, but check this out. This is amazing. Wait for it. Wait for it.
Beautiful. Just touching the roof.
That guy's a champ. That was amazing. Absolutely amazing. That guy's ready for any cookout, any campfire, any smoker. You need a tree felled. That's your guy. That's your guy. Yeah, I agree. Kinley Jackson, KJ in the boxes. That was crazy, Frankie. Channel 53, no way. Very clever. Noah Montague, but that's a good feller. You got it. Yeah, Hippie says very skillful. That was incredible. Yeah, wow, right, Kathy? Wow. Pretty good. Pretty good. Yeah, that's not bad. Angel Dreams is here. Hello, hello. Good to see you. Thanks for shooting in. Yeah, that guy had some good skills. Had some good skills. Like I said, he's ready to go camping. But some people aren't into camping, right? Maybe you're not into camping. Maybe in the spring you just like to travel somewhere, right? Maybe you decide, you know what, winter was long, bud. It was a long haul through this winter. You know what? WestJet, that's our quote unquote economy airline, privately owned airline up here in Canada. But actually one of the better airlines. But anyway, WestJet's having a sale where I can go to Hawaii or go to Vegas for like $100, eh? Or whatever, right? So maybe that's your thing. Instead of chopping down trees for firewood to go camping, maybe you just want to go traveling, train, airplane. But this is a bad situation, though.
Whoever is farting, don't fart, please. It smells bad.
By the look on that baby's face, I don't think somebody was farting on that plane. I think that baby just dropped a deuce. That's a grin. That grin on that baby. He knew what he did. You know what you did, kid. You know absolutely what you did.
Oh, that's cold.
I'm sorry, but that's the guiltiest grin I've ever seen. Right? Odin's Ravens got it. Guilty. Guilty as charged. Oh man, that's just too much. But when you're going to travel, then that's maybe it's just best to go on a road trip. Just get your car stereo ready. I found this pretty funny. I've shown this guy I think a couple times before, but one thing I will say is there is hope with the younger generation. A lot of them look at like even my technology that I have with my vinyl record collection and my old camera collection, or they'll look at a rotary dial phone and no idea. But this young lady at least gives her a shot to figure it out. Watch this.
As a cassette player and a CD player.
Cassette and CD? Welcome to 1988. But here's the question. Does it still have a cigarette lighter? Because that was our real in-car entertainment for the 3.5 hours our mother left us in the car while she went grocery shopping for just one more thing.
I went and bought lots of them.
Did you use Columbia House Record and Tape Club? That'll save you a lot of money.
First,
I don't know if they ever used to do those with vinyl, but those cassette clubs, I was muted the whole time. I'm sorry. Sheesh. It's like amateur hour around here with this.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
I was muted the whole time. It's like amateur hour. Sorry.
the cassette tape.
So the cars that I drove in the 70s always came with an ashtray and a cigarette lighter. It was the one you press in and it would pop out, but you could take it out and you could plug stuff in. You could plug stuff in, and not your cell phone to charge, because there were no cell phones back then. But you could plug stuff in. You know, you got a flat and you need to pump up your tire. You had these little electric tire pump things. You plugged it into the cigarette lighter thing. They don't have those anymore. Agent Smith is messing with my feed. Could be. Thank you. Yeah, sorry about that. Sorry. Some of that was my fault, and some of that is something else going on. Fire your audio team. Yeah. Yeah, that's me. I'm fired. You're fired.
All right, I gotta say I'm a little impressed. Getting cassette tapes out of that jewel case without breaking it was IQ test number 1.
Does it tell me how to load it?
Again, I gotta say, she's bound and determined to figure it out, and she figures it out.
No. Label up, tape side in. The cassette heads have to be able to read the tape. It's not really that hard.
Sometimes it went in sideways, though. Remember those?
I don't really know how to put this in there.
Well, when two people love each other very much,
Do I put it in sideways?
that would be one way to do it, I guess.
Maybe.
Is it working?
Dear, I thought.
And there it is.
See, she figured it out, and she loves it, and she gets it. She got it. She didn't just look at it and go, "This is stupid," and like chuck it out the window. You know what I mean? She bought herself a card, it seems like, that had a AM/FM cassette stereo with a CD player. And it looks like she went to a music store. Who knows where she found cassettes? But she bought cassettes and CDs for it. She didn't scoff at it.
That's the sound of analog music. That tiny little hiss, the mechanical hum, the sound of the cassette actually turning in there, fighting for its life one song at a time.
Yeah, and eventually you would play certain tapes or certain tracks on certain tapes over and over so many times Then it would get garbled or would start to drag quite a bit. Then you'd have to, I'm going to cut out that song and rejoin the tape with a little bit of cellophane tape or scotch tape. Now that tape doesn't have that song anymore. You know, and then you run a head cleaner through your stereo.
That's not bad sound quality. That's character.
How do I go to the next one?
You want to skip right to the next song? Yeah, no, we didn't do that. I mean,
yeah, that's the thing about the young folks. Is that took her about 7 seconds, and then like a goldfish. Yeah, I can't keep that much attention on one thing. I want to skip to there is no skip to the next song on a cassette player. You might have what was called the fast forward, and then there was it was a similar sounding aid, something fast forward, where you press the button or move the toggle or the dial, whatever, and it would fast forward. But then when it got to the end of the track or it hit like dead space between songs, it would stop and it would play the next song. But you still had to wait for it to wind to the next song on the tape, right? Or I think 8 tracks, you could skip from track 1 to 8 by just pressing the track number button. I don't know. We never had an 8-track in the car when I was a kid. We had cassette.
You can fast forward to the next song, but it's more of an art form than a science, really.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the thing, is the first few CD players, I mean, even still, I'm sure if you're off-roading trying to play a CD, it ain't happening. But cassettes at least wouldn't skip when you're, let's say you're going on a road trip camping and you're on some back roads, I don't know, forestry road, some cut line road in the woods. Who knows what you're doing? Maybe you're going hunting and you're going to, I don't know, you listen to some tunes, or you're going fishing or something. I don't know. Maybe just off-roading in general. Yeah, with the cassette, you're not, it's not going to skip.
See what I mean? You can probably stop now.
Hello?
Like how she says hello to it. No, that's it. Fast forward cue. I think that was it. Thank you. Thank you. Yes. The stereo that because when I would buy an old Chevy and I would drive it till the doors fell off of it, basically, right? And you just couldn't fix it up anymore or whatever. And then, I'll get rid of this old Chevy Impala and I'd buy a Pontiac Parisienne, for $200 or $300, give it an oil change, a tune up, put some new tires on it. And I would take the stereo out of the Impala before I sold it so I could put it in the Pontiac. You know what I'm saying? But mine was, if you pressed it halfway down on the fast forward, it would fast forward to the next song. And if you pressed it all the way down, it would just fast forward to the end of the tape. And then it would get to the end. It had the auto play where it would it would play the next side without you having to eject the tape and flip it. Ooh, ooh. Back then, it seemed like it was space age stuff that you'd only see on Star Trek with Captain Kirk. That's right. The technology was absolutely outstanding. Of course, looking back on it now, it was like, might as well have been Morse code.
Hello?
It's not a phone. It's not Siri. It's not Alexa.
Yeah, it's not Alexa. Sorry.
It's not going to answer you.
Oh.
And then the next song kicks in and it scares the living bejesus out of her.
Oh.
I got to say, all things being equal, though, I got to give her credit. She tried. This is old tech. You got to listen, rewind, fast forward, eject and flip the tape over. And occasionally, perform emergency surgery.
There it is. There it is. So there you go. I think that is going to do it. That is going to seal the deal here today for Frankie. New West Reset and New West Reset Live. Episode 173 here today. Looking at the first electric streetcar trolley tram system from the Berlin Trade Exhibition of 1879. Again, links below for everything that we covered, as well as all of my social media, how you can follow me. my boots on the ground location map. PayPal's down there as well. Send me an email if you've got any show ideas or anything you want me to discuss or cover. We are looking at roughly 2 weeks from today, June the 14th, a meetup. We're going to be meeting in Old Rouleauville. Starting from today going forward, I'll be posting updates on the channel. But June 14th at noon at Rouleauville. There's Rouleauville Park, which is 17th Avenue Southwest. I'll post everything. Would love to have you if you're in the Calgary area, if you're local. We're going to go on a mudflood walkabout tour. We're going to go on walkabout there, mate. Crikey. But yeah, we're going to go on a mudflood tour of the old Mission District here in Calgary, Old Rouleauville, and a little bit of the historic avenue there as well in the Mission District. We're going to meet at noon at the Rouleauville Park. I'm going to bring some t-shirts, some ball caps. We're going to grab, we'll meet up there at noon. We'll grab some coffee and donuts or something. Then we'll walk around, have a look at a few things. I'm going to take some video. We'll do some glad handing and, meeting up, getting to know each other. We'll have a good time. We'll look around, scrutinize things. Then we'll stop for a bite to eat for lunch. We'll grab, I don't know, some pizza and some wobbly pops or something. We'll figure it out. Burgers, whatever you want. It's on me. And again, I'll bring some t-shirts and hats. So if you're local and you live in the Calgary area, or if you're close to Calgary and you think you want to be there, well, then be there, be square, bud. And again, keep your ocular sphericals locked onto the channel for more details as we get closer. But 2 weeks away, high noon, Rouleauville Park, 17th Avenue Southwest. If you think you're going to be in the Calgary area, come on, join up. Join up. Can I make it a Saturday? You know what? You may have something there. Let me mull it over. Can you give me 24 hours? Give me 24 hours, please. Give me 24 hours, and I will get back to you. Saturday's not bad because I usually do the Sunday live show. Not that I'm rushed, but I don't want to feel like or that I would be rushed. Somebody's asking for email. There it is in the chat, in the box, newwestreset@gmail.com. So Saturday might not be too bad. I was going to say, is there going to be more people oot and a boot on a Saturday than a Sunday? Not really. It's going to be all the same. It's a high pedestrian traffic area. It's a little historic district. There's a lot of shopping and little shops and little tchotchke places and restaurants and microbreweries and hipster doofus stuff going on down there all the time. I wanted to wait till after Lilac Festival because that's their big street festival there. And I wanted to have it before the Calgary Stampede because that's where 1 million people in the form of tourists go through the rodeo ground gates in 10 days here in Calgary every year. And that's very close to this area. So Saturday could be a doer. Give me 24 hours, but it looks like, yeah, I could definitely be, you could twist my rubber arm to a Saturday there, KJ, for sure. So again, links below for how you can get a hold of me. So yeah, if I've got the email there. I'm on Instagram, then of course Rumble, BitChute, YouTube. You can even just leave me a comment on one of those because I reply to every comment. I read every comment. I see it's a 13-hour drive. So if you came on the Saturday instead. Oh, you're in Coeur d'Alene. Sorry, I'm getting my buddies mixed up here. Excuse me. Sorry, that was Phil there. And we were talking to Kinley about that. But yeah. Sorry, I'm thinking out loud and getting all kerfuffled here. I'm sorry about that. But yeah, definitely you can get a hold of me, and I'm definitely going to keep posting updates. But yeah, Saturday we can do. But yeah, if you want to get a hold of me, emails there, comment. I'll get back to you quick, fast, and in a hurry. So yeah, there you go. That's going to seal the deal here for Frankie, New West Reset. Thank you very much. Until the next one, Take care out there and have yourselves a good one. All right? Cheers.
It's a mystery. It's a mystery wrapped in a riddle inside an enigma.